Y'all might think you know about Janet Jackson's toxic marriage to billionaire Wissam Al Mana, but trust me, you have no idea just how bad it really was. We're talking about control, manipulation, isolation, and some people even believe she only stayed to secure the bag. And when Janet finally spilled, chilly. It was worse than anyone imagined. So let's get into this messy billionaire nightmare and find out. Was Janet being brainwashed? Was she just sticking around for the $200 million payout? Or was this something even darker? Because what really happened inside that marriage was straight out of a horror story. The marriage that started it all. Janet and Wissam tied the knot in 2012, and at first, it seemed like a fairy tale. Janet was in love, she had a billionaire husband, and in 2017, they welcomed their son, Wissam Al Mana. But just months after Isa was born, Janet shocked the world by announcing, "Yes, I have separated from my husband. We are in court, and the rest is in God's hands." And baby, that was just the beginning. Because behind closed doors, Janet was trapped in a relationship that left her broken. Control, isolation, and brainwashing.
I just want to keep it real with you guys for a second. Yes, I separated from my husband. We are in court, and the rest is in God's hands. Now for that something else.
As for what happened, sources said that Janet should have seen the red flags from the very beginning because people around her always told her that she was being brainwashed by her toxic husband. And she talked about how in place of her X-rated lyrics, she wished fans inshallah, meaning God willing, at the end of every show, and even featured the Arabic word in the chorus of one of her songs. In addition, Janet settled in London just to appease Wissam. They also had a home in Doha, Qatar, and an apartment in the Trump Tower in New York. But she resented that Wissam refused to meet her family and friends and tried to keep her away from the public eye. Other than this, she even canceled the UK and European legs of her 2016 tour just days before she was due to take the stage, announcing she would be postponing her performances indefinitely as she and Wissam had started planning a family. She had already allowed him to dictate her appearance and even the way she performed at concerts, and she felt that she was losing her fan base and her mind. Now, based on reports, they separated shortly after the baby was born because the cultural differences between her and Wissam became even more obvious after Isa arrived. Allegedly, Wissam was forcing Janet to change her ways, and for those who noticed, while she was married to Wissam, she became more private, was always dressed in clothes that covered her from head to toe, and overall, he had become more controlling, which became really suffocating for Janet. Then even after giving birth, the baby was never seen in public, and Janet was reportedly forbidden from leaving the house while she was nursing, and they just couldn't agree on how to raise the baby because of their cultural differences. So the best thing to do was go their separate ways.
Now, Janet should have seen the red flags from the start because everyone around her was already warning her. Her own family thought she was being brainwashed by Wissam. Even her sister, LaToya Jackson, admitted that she didn't even know Janet was married until she saw it in the media. Y'all, imagine being so isolated that your own family doesn't even know what's going on in your life? That's not love, that's control. And if you thought that was bad, wait until you hear what she had to give up for this man. Janet wanted a big, lavish wedding with family and friends, but Wissam insisted on a low-key private ceremony. When visiting his family in Qatar, she ditched her makeup, hair extensions, and dressed in full traditional clothing. Her lyrics changed too. Gone were her sexy, provocative performances. Instead, she started ending shows with inshallah, God willing, and even included Arabic words in her songs. She moved to London just to please Wissam, even though she was miserable and isolated from everyone she loved. And then, it got even worse. The breaking point. Why she finally left.
There's a lot of pain. Janet's been through a lot with her divorce. I've been through a lot. We all have. I told her, you've got to move in with me or I'm going to go over there and there's going to be hell. She was really pissed off. I told her, I don't care anymore. I'm tired of it. It's too much. Also, despite reports that the couple's split had to do with the difference of religious beliefs, Randy said that was not the problem. He was like, I have a lot of Muslim friends and they don't act that way at all. It's a personal issue that he needs help with and I'm going to pray for him too. But I'm not going to allow her to live in that situation. She's my baby sister. He also said that nothing was amicable. And when asked how Janet was doing after the separation, he said it was a tough time, noting that Janet had been breaking down into tears on stage night after night. He even reflected on how, while performing her song What About during her opening night in Houston, she was overcome with emotion, adding, what you saw in Houston, it was her situation coming out, what she's been going through. She has custody, and he, of course, allowed her to bring the baby on tour, but it's constant This tour almost didn't happen, but by the grace of God, we're here and we're very prayerful. Something else that was said about the toxic marriage by insiders was that Wissam never cared about Janet's family, especially her mom. Apparently, Janet, who's always been extremely close to her mother, was juggling the demands of a newborn with comforting Catherine, who was going through a rough patch. But Wissam is said to have shown a callous lack of interest in his mother-in-law's plight. Apparently, for a man who claims family is at the heart of everything he does, it seemed strange that he was not supportive.
Once she had their son, Isa, things went from bad to unbearable. According to reports, Wissam controlled everything, even how Janet dressed after giving birth. He forbid her from leaving the house while she was nursing. Their son was never seen in public. They fought constantly over how to raise Isa because their cultural differences became impossible to ignore. And baby, when a Jackson is crying on stage, you know it's bad. Because her own brother, Randy Jackson, later spilled the tea saying Wissam was verbally abusive and called Janet the B word every single day. He straight up said, she felt like a prisoner in her own home. And y'all, she wasn't just sad. She was breaking down in front of the world. During a performance in Houston, Janet broke down in tears while performing What About? A song about abusive relationships. That wasn't acting. That was her real-life pain coming out on stage. And if you still think this was just about cultural differences, even Randy shut that down saying, I have a lot of Muslim friends, and they don't act that way at all. This was about control and abuse. And when Wissam finally responded, he played the victim. He posted a passage from the Quran on his website, hinting that he was the one suffering and being falsely accused. He even posted a love letter to Janet, calling her the most beautiful person in the world, and saying he'd love her forever. Sir, please. Because if it was all love, why did Janet call the police on him in 2018? Yup, sis was so concerned for their son's safety while he was staying with his father that she called authorities to do a welfare check. Why? Because according to reports, their son's nanny was terrified of Wissam's aggressive behavior. Who? Did Janet stay for the $200 million bag? Now, here's where the plot thickens. Because some people believe Janet only stayed with Wissam to cash out on their prenup. Yup, y'all heard me. Janet's prenup had 2 key clauses. If she stayed at least 5 years, she'd get $100 million. If she had a male child, she'd get another $100 million. And guess what? She had their son and left right after their 5th anniversary. Coincidence? Some people think she played the long game and secured the bag. But here's the real question. Even if she did stay for the money, could you blame her? This man allegedly controlled her, isolated her, and verbally abused her for years. If she got paid for her suffering, maybe that was the least she deserved. Is Janet the problem? But hold up, because some people believe Janet is the common denominator in all her failed relationships. And listen, her dating history is wild. Magic Johnson in 1983, she was 16, he was 24. Secretly married James DeBarge at 18, but left after his drug addiction spiraled out of control. Dated Renee Elizondo Jr. and secretly married him for almost a decade, but ended things when their relationship became more business than love. Was with Jermaine Dupri for years, but rumors say he cheated. And some people think maybe Janet is the problem, that she can't keep a man because she's too controlling or demanding. But let's be real. When you look at her history, it's clear. She's just been with the wrong men. And honestly, it looks like she dodged a bullet with Wissam. So what do y'all think? Was Janet trapped in a toxic marriage? Did she really stay for the money? Or is she just unlucky in love? Drop your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned, because this tea is just getting started.